Business is all about how you make people feel. It's that easy and it's that hard. And what we're trying to do in every business that we entrench ourselves in is layer in an immense amount of hospitality. Anything that we put our hands on, it has to be an unbelievable experience for the person so that it becomes obviously a great sales channel with repeat and referable business and market share that we can capture. But it's a major differentiator. Those are going to be the businesses over time that win because everyone's going to have a feature, right? It's so easy to make technology nowadays. If you're missing a feature, another company's just going to add it. So where's your value there? It's like you're not going to be able to out-engineer somebody at this rate. The way that you can build with AI and the new technology, you've got to now win on a field which is very hard to win in, which is making someone feel extremely special and taken care of proactively, knowing in advance of what they want and meeting that need ahead of schedule.
Welcome to the Raise and Exit podcast, oriented for founders and entrepreneurs that want to get that competitive edge and early advantage on what they need to raise or exit their business months, if not years in advance. Today, we have an interesting conversation for us. Somewhere in the world is our guest, Brandon Duensing from Acquire Online, which is a fund dedicated to acquiring remote-first online businesses. So we're going hyper niche today. And with that in mind, where are you?
Well, I'm glad to be here, Edgar. Pleasure to be on the show. I am today, and it does change pretty regularly. It might look like I'm in a corporate jet or I'm out traveling. I'm actually just a little bit north of Seattle. And that's coming off the heels of being in Glacier National Park for the last few weeks. So we definitely love to travel around. It's our passion for sure. We like to make sure that our business doesn't get in the way of that. And we've kind of merged the two, as you described with the remote only. So yeah, we're out gallivanting and we're really enjoying our time right now.
That is super cool. I just love like how technology has enabled this for us. Like when I was a little kid, I used to go and hop on my bike over to my friend's place like 15 blocks away and say, hey, your phone's off the hook. It keeps beeping. And I try and share that story with anybody under the age of 25 and they look at me dumbfounded as to what the hell I'm talking about. So it kind of goes and tells you my age here as well. But I love the fact that we are able to have this conversation, totally understand why you've kind of launched this fund that goes and buys online first businesses. And what it kind of is a catalyst for me is something that I want to understand from your perspective, since you're opening a novel way of acquisition to funds or exit for businesses that wouldn't have existed even 10 years ago. So Can you just tell me a little bit about how diversification of funding structures, fund structures, is making it easier for funds to be raised for companies, but at the same time it make it more complicated to figure out who should I go and raise from? So how can somebody figure out whether they should be calling you or somebody like you to go and raise capital or exit their business?
Yeah, great question. So I would say first and foremost, it depends on who's trying to launch the business. So I would say there's differing skills and sophistications of those trying to invest in businesses, purchase businesses. And I think depending on where they're starting at is going to give some insight on where they should look for help and assistance. I'm in a little bit of a unique scenario where I've had some successful ventures in the past. Those led to some successful exits, and those were able to kind of fill our cash coffers, as you will, and gave me the ability and the flexibility, I think, that isn't always available to everybody in terms of how to launch either an investment firm or how to go out and acquire businesses. But even before we started like this great version of it, I was in a very similar scenario where I thought, okay, where do I go to raise money? Where do I go to look for help? How do I invest in businesses? And I had to do what everyone else does, which was go online and search for solutions, go network with people in the space, go understand and educate myself to be aware of what are all the different paths that are available to me. Mm-hmm. And nowadays what you see is so much creative financing, which I think is really interesting. So depending on your involvement in business and your skill set, I think you've got a lot more options provided to you. For Acquire Online, like you mentioned, it's an investment firm that focuses primarily on remote only businesses. And we have a funny story about why it's remote only. But for us, we were self-funded based on the heels of a really successful exit. But we're eventually going to run out of cash too if we want to scale at the rate that we want to scale at. and we're going to be back trying to raise funds from other investors. And so I would say for us, what's really helpful is knowing exactly what your niche is, what your skill set is, and knowing what market you want to operate in. Finding people in that network that operate in that space and starting a conversation actually organically opens a lot of doors and fills a lot of the gaps in that knowledge that you have. So I recommend for anyone that's interested in investing in businesses and or expanding their portfolio, either through self-funding or through outside capital, creating a connection and understanding your niche and your skill set is the first way to get started.
So I want to build on that because in the domain that you're going and investing in capital, like I'm going to go on the assumption that you're not here looking for the next $1 trillion company, as opposed to what might be some of these large late stage funds that's there. But it doesn't mean that you're not looking for value and a mutual benefit. So, I tracked what Sahil Lavinia did at Gumroad, like what I would say is almost like the prototype of what I think is much more scalable now, especially through what Acquire Online does. Can you give me a sense of how does a founder balance between wanting to build what I would call a successful business, but may not necessarily be that cascading Series A through Series F to IPO business that we romanticize so much about? So how do you help somebody find that fit for you? What questions do they need to ask themselves of, I should go and talk to Brandon, versus I should go to traditional VC or take out a bank loan?
Yeah, so I would say you hit the nail on the head. It's like, what's the outcome? Where are we going to? What's the intent? For Acquire Online, we're very much a buy/scale and hold model. So I think that's a little bit of a differentiator as well. Some people that are especially going for unicorns or these bigger kind of VC models, a lot of it is they're looking for a very clear definitive exit point some point in the future, right? They've got a 10 to 12 year out mark they're trying to hit, looking for a certain amount of velocity. Our model is very much entrenched in leaning into a hospitality model and service offering. And it's a buy, build, scale, and hold model, which is very different. And so if you're looking for something that you want to be a part of and you're looking for us to participate with your business in, what you get is the opportunity to scale with us and then have more of a recurring payout model, a dividend payout model, a long-term scalable model, something that's more generational in terms. And I think, again, we're a little bit different in that regard, where we're not building to exit, we're building to hold, which I think is very unique. And
that is very different. Because tell me a little about that, because you've mentioned the whole scaling aspect and being there along with the founder a lot, right? And if you're starting with that more of the solopreneur or like it sounds like small team, decentralized remote orgs, what is that scaling piece, and how are you able to go and help companies, or how should companies think of themselves in through that scaling phase, right? So it's beyond a good idea or problem to solve to actually going and creating a business that can sustain a good recurring run rate, or maybe not turn into $1 billion revenue, but can just churn out cash reliably for everybody involved.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So a lot of that is whenever we go into a business that we look at, we do a huge analysis on it and we understand exactly the framework of the business. And it's a replicable framework that we've created to understand exactly how the business operates. What are the levers that make the business move? What are the value adds that this business has that it's unique differentiator? And we really layer in a lot of process, a lot of structure, a lot of framework. Most of the businesses that we look at these days were essentially founder-created solopreneur businesses that just had a great product, and they were able to fulfill a product. They were able to make someone feel special working and purchasing that service and or product. They get to a point where they have 10, 15 employees. Now all of a sudden they're trying to juggle different balls in the air. And it's a legitimate business. There's a lot of cash flow moving. And if you don't have a strong operational background or foundation, things start to crumble and you hit the ceiling. And that's a break point we see typically around, I would call it the 3 to 5 million in revenue, maybe about $1 million in EBITDA. Right around that point, founders typically either get really comfortable with their cash flow to the extent that they lose that grit that it took them to skill there or to scale there, or they just don't know how to get past it. They just don't have the management experience. They don't know how product market fit changes, and so they need a fresh set of eyes and some foundation.
So that's almost like a skill transfer as well. And there's something you just said there which made me laugh, which is I have the pretty regular honor of working with companies that are in a really awkward position.
Yeah.
They are growing revenue, they're printing
Mhm.
cash,
Yep.
but they're losing share. And
Yeah.
they just refuse to go and do what it is to get them over the hump. And what I'm kind of hearing from you right now is like the smaller business version of it, which is I was passionate about this product. I turned it into something that makes more money than I thought it might make when I started it. Like this may not be the ambition of like I want to build an Instagram or something like that, but I want to
Yeah.
go and build like a good business. And it's like like I don't know if I'm the person to go and take it from 15 to 50 employees or 15 to 500 employees. And it sounds like you can. So tell me a bit more than like what's the ecosystem that companies then need to kind of get past that hump? Because it sounds like you're providing that as well. So tell me a bit more about that.
Yeah, so a lot of it is just I would call it an in-sync tech stack is step number one. So a lot of these small businesses, right, they patchwork everything. We're going to use Google Drive for a little bit, then we're going
Yeah.
to use this tool for a little bit. And all of a sudden you've built this business on a shaky foundation. And what you started working with is no longer the right solution for you, whether that's a process that wasn't enabled, whether it is an SOP that was put in place for something, whether it's a staff member that maybe just doesn't fit the next generation of that business model, and we really have to put the right person in the right seat. But essentially what we do is we come into the business and we I don't want to say like we're Meineke, but we've got like kind of like 100-point inspection on the vehicle essentially, where we understand what's working. Typically what happens is, I say there's two major breakpoints that we see when we go into businesses of this scale. The sales function has only been founder-led, referral-based sales function, and
Yeah.
that's it. Very hard to scale past that. Now it's gotten to the sweet spot where it's on cruise control and it just fulfills its need at that moment, and they can't quite push past that hurdle because there's no
Yeah.
sale function in place. Or there's an operational function. And so we see this, we recently acquired a business not too long ago where they were using one central inbox to manage all of this flow. Nobody was using an individual inbox because at the time, for the scale, it was actually a cleaner model. When they started to put pressure on it, there was more friction. And so intuitively they felt, if we change how we communicate with our clients, things are going to break. But what they didn't understand was that it almost has to break to find the real solution to get you to the next phase. So it's like what feels good in the moment doesn't necessarily mean that's the right process. It just means it's the right process for the business at its size. And sometimes you've got to create friction, feel a little bit of pain, and go to a brand new version that's been reimagined. And so most of the businesses that we uncover and work with have a lot of these subtleties of it works and it feels great right now. Why do we change it? And it's because they're stuck at that scale. And until they push past that scale, it will never break, so it feels right. But intuitively, if you've seen business at scale, you just know it's not the right process. So you have to force the change.
Something you went and said in there, and I almost think that you put it as like a secondhand, like off the cuff, but I actually really like what you went and said about like you have this 100-point checklist.
Yeah.
And like, look, I've seen insane due diligence checklists. You know what I mean? Like I do like checklist audits for some of our clients, and we're like, why are these questions not in here? Because
Yeah.
I'd be asking these questions. But it almost sounds like for you that your due diligence checklist is also the operational or scalability audit. Like, can this thing go there? Which is very different from traditional due diligence. Traditional due diligence is, do we have enough upside offset by, like, enough risk offset by the upside that we can go and make an investment or acquire this company? But you're actually going and taking a look at, can we run this company?
Yes.
Or how close is it to being able to be run more efficiently, more auto, less stress for the founder? And I actually like that. Like, it's turning the due diligence exercise into an operational enhancement, as opposed to, I hate reading these reports months later. I'm like, are you guys using your due diligence checklist after? It's like, no, that was just to figure out whether we cut the check or not. I'm like, well, that's a waste of effort.
Yeah.
But you're actually like, that's really cool, man. Like, you're repurposing due diligence into an operating model. So, so just tell me, like, why is that a competitive advantage to go and have, do you think, for a founder to look at themselves?
I think it's really helpful for us. It's almost like if you've ever flipped any real estate, and you go and you look at a property, you know the bones are amazing. The location is unbelievable, right? These are things that are just in the core of its location.
Yeah.
But you also go and you go, if we just open up this wall and put a slider here, and if we just added this over here, and all of a sudden this business or this home becomes an absolute money machine. It's like being able to polish off areas that you know there's all this pent up value. That's kind of how we look at that checklist of what can we do. We know we can replicate what we've done successfully in other businesses. How can we do this here? For us, it does become a due diligence checklist. It does become an operational manual. It does become kind of our month 0 through 12 roadmap of what do we need to do to get this to a sustainable function and really carry this business to checkpoint 1, checkpoint 2, checkpoint 3 in terms of rev. You know, we do some unique deals with different owners where if we hit certain benchmarks and they're able to get us there, there's different payout structures. And so you can get really creative as well to have incentivizing the owner as long as you've got a roadmap kind of laid out in the beginning. So the due diligence checklist does become the operations manual does become also the strategy for usually the first year.
So I want to expand on that a little bit because if we look at a lot of due diligence from an investment point of view is, okay, I'm going to put some capital in and I should be able to take capital out at a better valuation than, standard risk return rate or whatever the heck it may be, right? I'm just really simplifying things there.
Yeah.
But when somebody looks to acquire, they're wanting to make sure that on the other side of the acquisition, this business is going to pay back, but in a different way, right? Invest, you want to get the cash back out. Acquire, you may want to hold. Like you may want to actually go and get it as giving you cash back that's there. What do you think is different that is there from the type of due diligence that you're doing versus what is that maybe stereotypical venture capital or maybe bolt-on due diligence that a company might go and do? Because I'm learning new ways to think through due diligence from what you're saying here. So please share more and how it could be valuable for companies, regardless of whether they come to you or somebody else.
Yeah, so it's a really good point. And again, I think it goes to the firm's goal. For us, it's a buy and hold strategy, cash flow, but know that we're still continually increasing the total market value of the business, right? We still want to be able to have an out potentially. So part of our firm's strategy is we don't look at every business in a silo. Most of the businesses that we look at and are purchased and added to the ecosystem are part of a greater mission. So we eventually for our firm view a number of shared services between business lines, crossover market share. And so when we invest in businesses and or acquire businesses, it's part of a larger hypothesis or investment theory or thesis that we work within that we say, okay, and I'll give you an example. We want to dominate in marketing because marketing is a core function of all businesses. Okay, well, first let's go after the
the contrarian statement right there, Brandon. All the finance people will go and say, all right, we're going to cut marketing budget right after we buy this thing. And here you are, we're marketing first. I'm like, you just had a whole bunch of CMOs just get their ears burning around the world.
Well, Edgar, I don't know if you know this, but I used to be a CFO, so I'm fine.
I know. I'm like, what's going on here? Who's crashing this podcast?
Yeah. So this is my whole thing is I'm always like finance first, but to me, a good CFO recognizes cost versus an investment. And I feel like if you say, let's cut a line item because it looks high and I can't see the return, I would say, are you looking in the right places? Do you have the wrong person executing on this function? But for us, if you can drive revenue, especially with new acquisitions, if you can drive revenue, that stabilizes the investment in the short term and gives you time to operationally catch up. So for us, if you can drive top line at a fast enough rate that allows you to get in and fix any problems that maybe you didn't identify in due diligence, you've got product market fit that's shifted under your feet, or things are changing, you now have time to research, pivot, adjust to the market, and marketing has kept you afloat. Marketing and sales have kept you afloat. So for us, we know if we can drive top line in the short term, we can stabilize the business, fix the operations, fix the product. Now all of a sudden you've got stability. Oh, and now I just double down on marketing, and you've got a really successful business. So for our particular investment firm, when we started it, we weren't sitting on a $400 million fund.
Yeah.
Was going out and saying, we've got all these deals coming at us. We needed to be much more strategic. and we knew we needed top line revenue to keep things flowing, just to keep the lights on if we made a misstep in due diligence, right? There's companies that have got massive teams, they spend millions of dollars in due diligence. For us, we've got a smaller team, so we wanted to offset that risk by focusing on what drives sales. We drive sales, we're stabilized, let's make smart decisions, not under pressure of running out of cash, and end up shooting ourselves in the foot with bad decisions. So we like marketing. We started with marketing first. And shared services, we've acquired, a web design agency that's going to go to market with a phenomenal product that goes quickly. That was the knapsack business that we acquired, which was great. They build websites literally in a day, which is insane. I don't know if you've ever been a part of a web project, but they take anywhere from like 3 to 6 months. Everybody's pulling their hair.
Oh, I've gone through that with my company. It was
Not
what I wanted it to be.
Yeah. So we picked up one of those. Then you build out the rest of the ecosystem. Okay, we got someone online. How do we get them traffic? SEO, paid ads, email marketing, automations, funnels, the whole spectrum. But eventually these businesses are all going to support each other. Then the next will be probably, like you said, a finance function. And so now we get a shared service ecosystem for any new business that comes in. Our internal system can help support their operational growth with a framework that's repeatable. So we're kind of basically building an ecosystem of businesses all co-owned by the investment firm that will all support growth of every new business.
So that's like it's like a miniature version of like Constellation Software or some of the VCs with a back-end office function, and they just do like dozens of micro investments, right?
Yes.
And they're essentially like, they're enriching the cash flow of these companies by centralizing the cost. They're almost like providing like the fractional services in the back end that are prohibitively expensive. So that to me is like a different way of like cash protection or cash flow protection. So I'm gonna go and put you on the skinny branches now, Brandon.
Yeah.
Because there's a question I'm able to ask you now that I would say even 12 months ago. Okay. Yep. How is AI changing your investment philosophy and your scaling philosophy?
Oh, this is a good one. Okay, so earlier in the call, if you remember, I touched on a term that really I want people to take away from this call, which is hospitality first. I mentioned the term hospitality previously, and I feel like so
we're not talking like Marriott or Sheraton here. We're talking.
We kind of.
Okay,
are.
say more.
Yeah.
Say more.
Yeah. So, my wife used to co-own a couple restaurants. I was in hospitality long before I got into finance, right? Like way back in the day. And
he's 80 years old, but doesn't look it.
Yeah, exactly. It's all the travel. I stay young with all the travel. But what we recognize is that, and there's a quote. It's like, what is it? Business is all about how you make people feel. It's that easy and it's that hard, I think is the quote. And what we're coming to terms with AI is the ability to distance ourselves from human interaction and really making someone feel special. And what we're trying to do in every business that we entrench ourselves in is layer in an immense amount of hospitality. So just like when you go into a restaurant and they know your name and they've got notes in the booking about your last visit and the special dessert that you had and how you like your steak cooked, and they just nail it. They don't have to talk to you. They've got it dialed in. Think of a restaurant like 11 Madison in New York. That's a business that thrives off of hospitality. We want to embed that into every tech business, marketing business, sales business, anything that we put our hands on. It has to be an unbelievable experience for the person so that it, one, becomes obviously a great sales channel with repeat and referable business and market share that we can capture, but it's a major differentiator. And with AI, I don't think it's going to be something that disconnects us from hospitality. I think we can use it to leverage up our hospitality. And so now we have the ability to customize at a greater rate, customize at a greater scale, and not lose the human touch. It just is so nuanced. It's like a really unique thing to be able to do at scale. And I think that's where we're going to shine. So we're very heavily leaning into AI tools every opportunity we get, but always with the caveat of this can't make us lose the human touch. It can only help or enhance our ability to connect with a human. So I think that's a big part of it.
Man, Brandon, I think you need to go and find an island because right now it sounds like you're an island of one. You are a marketing and customer centric CFO. And yes, I know there's others that exist, but I think your passion for that kind of really speaks through. And I really hope that like people listening to this and watching this are going to get that as a takeaway because I talk about something that I is lacking in a lot of companies. I speak to companies ranging from like pre-revenue to $1 billion plus, and the questions that I ask sometimes like really confound me with the answers that I get. I go and ask, why and how does your company make money?
Yeah.
And in some of these organizations, they're not able to go and give me an answer. But like you don't make money if you don't have a customer.
Yeah.
And what you're pointing to is that you don't have a customer unless they feel like they've been a customer.
Yeah.
Because if they don't feel like they're a customer, then they're a customer waiting to leave to a place that makes them feel more like a customer, whether it's genuine or not.
Yeah.
Right? They're ready to exit. And I don't think enough people are giving that consideration. And this is why you go and see all these companies losing customers and they're like, oh yeah, well that's just natural attrition. I'm like, hold on. A lot of it is preventable attrition.
Yeah, oh yeah, big time. Have you ever been, I know this, not to like lean into the restaurant thing, but this is a good example. Have you ever been to a restaurant and the food's just like, nah, subpar. It was okay. But they just took amazing care of you. Like they were on you hand and foot. They were proactive and thought about something that you didn't even know you wanted and recommended something that was perfect or came over with something complimentary. And you go, where do you want to go eat tonight? Do you want to go at the place with the $200 bill and the nice steaks and everything else? Or do you want to go to that one place local that just like takes care of us?
You nailed it, Brandon. It's right there.
Yeah.
Right? I have a place down the street, and I can tell you it is not the best Thai food I've had, but it is the most comfortable Thai food I've had.
Exactly. And you can just be yourself, and it feels comfortable. And so I think businesses over time, they're going to realize, even if the solution isn't every feature under the sun, and it's like perfect, but it gets 90% of the way there, and the person that uses it knows they're taken care of, and they can always come to you for a solution, and they know if there's a problem, you're going to solve it for them, and you're a true partner in their business. Those are going to be the businesses over time that win, because everyone's going to have a feature, right? It's so easy to make technology nowadays. If you're missing a feature, another company's just going to add it. So where's your value there? It's like you're not going to be able to out-engineer somebody at this rate the way that you can build with AI and the new technology. You've got to now win on a field which is very hard to win in, which is making someone feel extremely special and taken care of proactively, knowing in advance of what they want and meeting that need ahead of schedule. I think that's how you're going to win in the future.
This has been a real gold mine, Brandon. I love I think the human element that you're going and bringing in, and alluding to the fact that it is scalable, just maybe not in the way that I think maybe our general business thinking abstracts it to. So really appreciate the wisdom that you've kind of shared with us today. I do want to ask one final question because I really want to know.
Yeah.
What type of companies are you buying? Or investing into?
Yeah, so our typical...
Like who should call you up?
Yeah, so I would say our buy box right now is... So I would say top line is anywhere from 5 to 20.
Revenue?
Yeah, 5 to 20 million in revenue. I would say EBITDA is anywhere from, let's call it 1.5 to 5-ish. We like anything that's remote based. So if you've got a remote based business or if you're online only, give us a call. We do not.
So it doesn't matter. Services, software, consumer apps.
Interested in all of it. I think we're shying away from e-commerce right now.
Okay.
Leaning away from e-commerce at the moment, leaning more into value add, value driven businesses. So these are things that whether or not it was consumed is not essential, but we like things that obviously drive a purpose. And so we're staying a little bit away from e-commerce and consumerism products in general, and more into things that improves people's lives, that drive pure value. We love that. So if you've got anything in the market that's doing that, that's remote based, come see us. Amazing.
I'm looking forward to seeing traffic just come your way, Brandon. It has been an honor. Maybe the next time we talk, you're like in Fiji or something with like a water RV.
Yeah, listen, maybe it's a yacht. Who knows? I doubt it, but we'll see.
We'll see what we can bring happen. Thank you, Brandon. Cool. It's been a pleasure. Those sessions that we're having in Raise and Exit, where I get to run into somebody who I didn't know before, and get such reinforcement in what I'm seeing at scale through what I've gone and done professionally was bang on with what happened to Brandon. And a couple of things that really jumped out to me from the session with Brandon. So key part is that I think too many people get obsessed with the growth metric and not enough with the satisfied customer metric. And I don't mean that you should toss away your financial metrics that are there. But what I mean is you got to really understand, why did we acquire and retain this customer? How many of our existing customers are a catalyst for more revenue because they go and bring more in through buying more or buying other things that we go and sell as a product or service? And how much of it is because they're going and propagating our success in the marketplace? His notion of bringing hospitality and customer care as the catalyst or differentiation, especially in this AI-centric world that we're increasingly in, where you go and see a lot of flavor of the day or the hot moment or do this, do that process, etc. But ultimately, the differentiation is in how human it is. And sometimes the human element is to just give people time back to be of themselves. But the big point of differentiation is to have a human there who actually brought something to you. So I want you to go and consider how much what Brandon shared with you can be a competitive advantage in how you position yourself, and just have more of that human connection as you build a business, have to put together the systems, have to get it to the scaling, have to get further and further removed from the day-to-day of your customer. And yet, I would always say, you always have to have a minimal human component into the company and the business that you go and build. And boy, did it feel good to hear so many things from somebody else that we go and see in the measurement of what drives value when the customer, the brand, and the business are a match for each other.